Hello everyone, this is Chris Jamel at Interactive, and in this video we are going to focus on two main things. One, creating decorators that we can use to make interacting with the objects or things contained within our Vuex store, such as the state and actions, easier to work with. So we're basically going to mimic a project that you can check out on GitHub called Vuex-class. And then once we have that all done, we're going to add the ability for a user to add an account to the account store. And so if I add those two accounts, we'll see that in our dev tools, start off with a base state of array with 2 items. We then have 3 items, and at the end 4 items. And while we're at it, when the accounts get added, we're going to go ahead and alphabetize the list. But those are the two things that we're going to focus on in this video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. So where we left off in the last video was displaying the state of our app, or at least the accounts within our store. And we were doing that by using this computed property, so this get account state, which gave us the store, and then on the accounts, and we have the items, right? So I think it's a little bit nicer way of doing this with a field instead of a computed property. And we're going to use a decorator then to provide the sort of binding between the store and that field. So let's start by creating a new file in our folder, the store folder. So we'll create a, what I call it, decorators.ts file. So what we're going to create or recreate basically is some code that's very similar, very much inspired by code that's in another project and on GitHub, and I think it's called the Vuex-class. But it's more instructive to recreate this kind of stuff so we know how it works, I think. So what we'll do first off is import a few things, and from there, from view-class-component, it has a function in there called create decorator that's going to do all of the heavy lifting for us. And decorate, what is misdone about that? Duplicate, oh, it's because I was doing it earlier. So let's just reload here and get rid of that. Alright, so we'll also import from Vuex, and we're going to bring in a few things from Vuex eventually, so we'll just make it future-proof here. And now we can export a function that we'll call state. If you pass a state key to it, what it will do is look in that state, or I guess we're going to create a decorator that will do all of it for us. So we'll return the output from create decorator. That requires some component options and a key. So we'll do a little fat arrow action there and put our semicolon in. So on there we'll create a map object, which is just an object with an index of the key that was passed in and then the state key. Alright, now we have to do a little checking here. So if the type of component options, and we look for computed, if that's equal to undefined, then we'll just set it to an empty thing. Computed is going to be equal to empty object. Then we'll say if type of, learn the program. Alright, so now we have type of, and we need type of the same thing, so, well, almost the same thing. Component options, computed, and then we also look at the then index into the key. So if that is not equal to undefined, and we've already set it, and we're done. Then what we'll say is component options of computed key is equal to, now we use map state of our map object and key. Then we go up here and stop complaining about my tabs. We save that. Now if we go into the accounts, well, look at that, jumping the gun. So go to our index.ts file and we want to export those decorators. So export star from export star from. So we have that, store and decorators. Save that. And back to our index here. So we are pulling in something from store already. Let's make it a little easier here. Let's no. And now we'll take in state. 1 day. So state. So now we have the state. So what we have is, or what we can do now, is modify this a little bit, right? So instead of a getter, it's just going to be a field. Actually, it'll be a private read-only, private read-only. And we tell it that it's already going to be set for us. How is it going to be set for us? That's where our decorator comes in. So now we can say state, and inside of the store, so store types, we have the accounts on the store. So we say accounts here. So we save that. We see, luckily, that nothing has changed. We still have our 2 account models being shown. So now, and I sort of prefer this method of doing everything. What we're going to do now, though, is return back to our decorators. So in the end, by the time we're done with this video, of course, we need to be able to add in new accounts. And to add to Vuex is an action. So let's sort of refactor this so that we can use some of this code again. So in the imports, we're going to take in also computed and dictionary. We're going to create a type here. So type map fn type. So map function type is going to be a function that takes a map, which is a dictionary string. For now, it's going to output a dictionary of computed. Okay, so now let's do this. We'll say function and create decorator factory this time. So wrap our function in another function. We'll pass in what I'm calling options key. For the moment, it can just be computed. And we also pass in our map function, which is going to be of type map function type. And let's see if I can actually, well, let's do this. So we'll export a const of state, and that's going to be create decorator factory. We'll pass in computed and map state to that. Okay, so now it's going to complain because we have all this craziness going on. What I'm going to do is kind of take out the insides of this thing and move it up here and reformat it a bit here. So what we actually have is to return, and I called it state key here. So at the moment what I'm going to do is rename that and to be store key. We're going to need some fat arrows here, or a fat arrow. And I think that should be close to everything we need. Okay, so now we'll first take care of my TS lint error here. Let's get rid of that. So we want to use this So options key, so everywhere we have computed is now just going to be options key. And now, even though we're actually checking to see if component options of, the property options key, whether or not it's undefined and setting it, our TypeScript here is going to tell us it's possibly undefined. So we're going to say we know better. We put our little exclamation point in there, and it says we know that it's not undefined. Next thing we have to do is to not forget, which I did previously, to say our map function now moves down here and takes the place of map state. So if we save that, everything should refresh there, and we still have the same thing. So luckily I haven't apparently broken anything yet. At this point we're going to make a slight detour, because apparently at this point I noticed that something behaved a way I didn't want it to behave. And that something is in our components folder, routing, and the router outlet. So if we look down here, this router view animatable, basically it's the container that we animate things in and out when we change the route. I don't want this height 100 here. What I want to do is to come up to its parent and change that to display flex, and then do flex direction of column. So now instead of 100% height, all I'm going to do is flex 1. So we won't see any change there, but that little aside is taken care of. So as I said, we're aiming to get our input with our plus button. So we want the plus icon. So we come in here, and I've got Font Awesome in this features folder here. All we have to do then is say FA plus, and we'll come down here, library.add FA plus. Now we have our plus icon, and we are now set to do a little template work in our accounts. So just after the H1 tag here, we're going to add a form. No, it's a form, not a from. And we're going to put a class in the div of add. Inside of there, we'll have, I don't remember why I put the div instead of just making it the form, but oh well. So type equals text. We're going to say it's required. We're also going to let's give it a placeholder of name and a v model of name. So we have an input now. Let's create our button. So our button type equals submit, and v-on click prevent, and we're going to make a method of add. We'll do that here in just a second. We're also, like I said, we want that icon, Font Awesome icon. The icon equals plus. So that should take care of it for our template. So down to our, I forgot my semicolon there, and we'll get private name equals empty string. And private add this if this dot name. So if the name is equal to the empty string, we'll just return. Otherwise, for the moment, let's just console log this dot name. Okie dokie. Save that just to see that everything's on our screen there. Now, real quick, do a little bit of styling for it. So dot add, we'll do a display flex, margin bottom of 0.75 rem. Now the input, some default styling has put a margin bottom on the input, which is that 0.75. I don't mind it. I want it to be on the container, not the input. So let's say margin bottom of 0 here. Our button, we will say that the background color is a green color that's we've already defined. And so if you hover or focus the element, then what we'll do is background color we'll just darken that green by 10%. And we'll say the color is white. No semicolon, save that. So we're in here, hover, and darkens a little bit and turns the color white. So we are good to go with the styling. Matter of fact, let's enter something here, and where's my stuff? If we look here in the console, we'll see that we have it outputting the name. So that's working the way that we want it to. Let's bring that back out. So let's get down to actually adding something, or adding our account. So in there, in our folder here, in the store folder, we're going to create a new file, call it store-constants.ts, and we're going to export a constant action add account, and that is going to be a string, which is this thing. And if we want an action to actually do something, we're going to need a mutation, add account, and that mutation is going to be a string, which is that thing. So we can save that file, and we're good to go to close it. But back to the index, and let's go ahead and export it. So export star from store/store-constants. Perfect. Save it. And next to account types. So I'm going to create and export a type here. So type add account payload, which in our case for now is at least just going to be a string. So to create an account, all we need to do is pass in the name. So we'll go ahead and save that. And I'll close that one. And what do we want? We want to go to create another file. So inside the store, we're going to create account-module.ts. So this is going to be responsible for exporting all of our actions and our modules. So we need to do some importing from Vuex. We're going to import a few things. So let's get ready here. So we have an action context that we want. We want the action tree, mutation tree, and store. And import from store, and we want the account model. We're on an importing kick here, so we also are going to need import from and /store. What we want, actually, I guess I want to keep doing it. Store types, and we're going to need from it those constants. So that's the action, not types, constants. So give me that one, give me that one, and the mutation. And from /store, we need the account types because that has our add account payload. And we'll future-proof this one here. Perfect. Okay, so now let's create a type, and that type is account context, just because we don't want to keep writing this thing over and over. So it's a type of action context of iStore. So I managed to skip over importing that thing. So import from store/store types. This is the one I want. So store state. So this is the store state, store state, perfect. Now down to it. So we're going to export const of actions. The actions will be an action tree. The type of the action tree, I store state. So again, we're not namespacing anything. We're not creating any actual modules. So we'll do action add account, and this is store of store state. We'll have an object in here of, well, deconstruct the object. We'll get the commit out of it, and it's an account context, and then we need the add account payload. In the method, all we have to do is say commit, what mutation we want to commit, and the payload to go with it. So as far as actions go, we're done, at least for adding. Export const mutations. So mutation tree, I store y. It's right there. I store state. Okay. Sort of the same thing. So we need the mutation, and we have the state, which is the I store state, and the payload being passed into us, the account payload. It's pretty simple now. We create an account, so we need const account is equal to new account model. Pass in our configuration object, which is an ID. State.account.index gives us the ID, and the name is payload. But, you know, while we're at it, what we're going to do is make it so that if I add it, we're going to keep things in alphabetical order. So let's just say state.accounts .items. That's going to be equal to, so we'll spread on state.accounts, add in the account that we just created. Nope, not accounts, it's account.items. Then we'll do sort A and B with another set of parentheses, A, B. And now we do our sorting, so const A name is equal A dot name dot to uppercase. Const B name is equal B dot name dot to uppercase. And if A name is less than B name, then we will return -1. If B name, or no, A name greater than B name, return 1. Else, return 0. So now we have sorted, everything sorted, and we don't want to forget to say that the index is plus equal 1. So we'll increment the index, save them. So now we have defined what the action and mutation is for adding an account. What we need to do then, we can close that, is go into our store. And same as what we did sort of with the state here, is do some importing, right? So we'll import from and /store/account module. We'll import actions as account actions, mutations as account mutations. Now we can define the constant, so const actions equal spread on the account actions, mutations, spread, thank you for that, but wrong one, mutations, account mutations. And then all we have to do is get rid of the object definitions here. All right, so now with that saved, now that those actions, in this case just one, the action and mutation are both on our store, so we have access to them. Make it easy, we go back to our decorators here, and we're going to export const action. That's going to be create decorator factory. Instead of computed though, we need methods this time, and we actually need we'll do it, I'll import that here in a second. So let's ts lent, here, done. We need the map actions there, so a specified map actions. We originally said that we just needed computed, so now we need to be pass in methods to our factory. So we'll save that. So now we have access to the decorator. So if we go back to our account view, actually slightly jumping the gun. So we have a file in the root of our source folder, which is the types.ts. Previously, we've created this type that allows us to extend the props definition so that we can have types on it. So let's do export type. We'll do the same thing for refs. So t extends object. In this case, it's equal to view, and the property that we're talking about here is refs. So we'll extend it with t. Save that. Now back to our accounts view. The reason that I did that is that if we go up to the input, what I want to do is to say that ref equals, and we'll just say add. Reason being is that when somebody creates an account, what I want to do is to refocus the input so that it's easy to add the next account if you need to add another one. So let's do some importing here. So we'll come from the store here. So we have the action account constant. We have our action decorator, and we need the add account payload. So let's extend refs right here. So public refs is going to be provided for us, and its type is something that I did not import. And we'll import it here. So import from /types and refs. Refs, we put our object in there. The object is an add, and it's going to be of type HTML input element. And let's add in our action. So we have our decorator action. What's the string key for it? That's the constant that we have. So private read only add account is going to be set for us. Its type is payload add account payload. So give me a payload void. And down to our add method here, let's get rid of our console log statement, and we'll say this dot add account, this dot name. Once you've added it, this dot name will set to the empty string again, and then we'll say this dot $refs dot add dot focus, and we save that and cross our fingers that I haven't made any mistakes here. So we're in the input. If I type in something, hit enter, it appears in our listing of accounts, and put a Z on the front of it, and everything appears to be working correctly. So if we look, we can also see in dev tools, so we have the base state where we start off with our 2 items. We have 3 times a mutation coming through of add account. It's incremented our index, and we're up to index 6 with 5 items inside of our store. And so that takes care of it, I think, what we wanted to do in this video. I think in the next video, we're going to do a little bit of, tiny bit of styling, because I'm tired of looking at this thing the way that it looks right now. And also we're going to create the ability to delete an account. So we'll put a little button in here, so if you click on the button, we can remove that account from the store. But we'll take care of that in the next video. Until then, I will talk to you later. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.